Untouchable is the newest track by Eminem, released as the second single from his upcoming album Revival. This song covers some pretty important themes, and I'm here to tell you if I think it's good based on my personal opinion. As you guys know, I am a massive fan of Eminem, and the release date of Revival cannot be close enough. So what do I think about this track? Let's talk about it.
Be the only franchise that'll hire, so how can we have higher standards? As Dallas overshadows the battle for Black Lives Matter. We fight back with violence, but acts like that.
So let's start off by talking about the lyrical content of this track, because that's really where the main focus is here. This track was basically all about racism in America, and we all knew that Eminem was going to be talking about this on his new album, but how did he handle it? Well, there's a lot of stuff I like about it, and there's a few things that I don't like about it as well. I think the first half is pretty cool, with Eminem rapping from the perspective of a racist cop, which was a very interesting way to tell the story. Not to mention, there's actually some pretty dope wordplay, such as trying to clean up these streets from all these minorities, that's why we call them pigsties, for they're an eyesore to police. That line was incredibly good, but I do feel some of the lyrics on the first half were a bit too on the nose, especially the lyrics of the hook. Now, I get why they're like that. He's rapping from the perspective of like a kind of brash and cocky cop who feels like he can do whatever he wants, but I still feel like it takes away from the song. The lyrics of the hook are way too, I guess, overt in their meaning that it takes away from it. There's no subtlety to it, and a lot of the lyrics in the first verse are kind of like that too. It's a mixed bag lyrically for the first half, but I do feel like it has a message that needed to be said, and the perspective it was told from was really cool. And then in the second part, it gets even more interesting as Eminem starts rapping from the perspective of a black man. And while I do feel like some of the stuff he's saying here is pretty obvious, the way that he raps from the different perspectives on this track is really, really dope. And I think lyrically, the second half is probably the stronger out of the two. He speaks on some important subjects, such as how black people might find it more difficult to get jobs no matter what they do, and how the police should stop sending white cops into black neighborhoods, because that's not an environment that white cops are used to, and sending them into an environment that they're not really used to can result in them being uncomfortable straight away, which can just result in situations becoming more and more tense. I thought that was a great line there that just really inferred a lot. There were still some, I guess you could say, bad lines, like, I think the "capped in America" wordplay is dope, but I've heard it used at least 3 times before, so it just came off as a bad line because it wasn't original. And I really expect Eminem's wordplay to be super original. I've heard that "Captain America" wordplay a lot before. However, overall, I would definitely say it's something different, and for sure, it is a subject that needs to be talked about, especially by someone with Eminem's platform. He's one of the biggest, probably the biggest rap artist in the world, so having someone of that stature speaking on subjects like this is important. I feel like it wasn't incredible lyrically, and there are much better songs about racism out there, but it's definitely something that needed to be said. Now that I've talked about the lyrics, I want to talk about how the actual track itself sounds. And I have to say, I really don't enjoy how the first half of this track sounds. I don't. It's rapped over this kind of rock beat, and Eminem's delivery just sounds really weird, and it's kind of grating in a way on here. And Eminem really kind of has this talent for making deliveries that wouldn't sound good from anyone else sound good. Like, his Slim Shady voice is the most nasally thing in the world, and if a lot of other people tried to do that, it wouldn't sound good. Eminem could make that sound good, but here, it just didn't sound right. The way he drags out some of the words at the end of some lines just sounds really bad.
Then we wonder why we see this side of you.
And there's something, like I said, about the whole thing that just doesn't sound right. It kind of reminds me of So Far from MMLP2 in a way. It's that type of rock beat that I really don't like hearing Eminem over. Rick Rubin is a really good producer, and even though he has worked frequently with Eminem recently, I I do not like the way that they sound together a lot of the time. I don't know why, I really kind of like rock rap crossovers, but the way that Rick Rubin does them doesn't sound right for Eminem in my opinion. And I do get what he's going for with the rock sound, as he's rapping from a white cop's perspective. Like, that's kind of like stereotypically what the white cop would be listening to. But for me, it's just not enjoyable. It's hard for me to pinpoint exactly what I dislike about it, but there's something about it that just sounds wrong. I'm not gonna lie, this is kind of a strong statement, but even though I really like the lyrical content of the first half of the song, I wouldn't mind if it was removed from this song entirely. But then we shift into the second part and it gets pretty damn good. Eminem's tone gets much more serious and it shifts into a much more Eminem show style beat. And I thought it sounded great. The second half sounded really, really good. The second half is leaps and bounds better than the first, and I thought it sounded great. Like I said, the beat is way better in my opinion, and just the more kind of serious tone makes it much more enjoyable to listen to. Like I said, if this track was just cut down to the second half, I would love it so much more. But I think the first part is definitely gonna bring down how I would grade it. So I am going to give Untouchable by Eminem a 6 out of 10. If it was just the second half, I feel like it might have scored around a 7 or an 8 out of 10, but the first two verses and the hook just really drag it down for me, like a lot. Lyrically, it's pretty damn good, and the concept is cool, but you have to take the sound into consideration as well when ranking it, and yeah. That's how I feel about it. So far I have ranked both the singles from Revival at under an 8 out of 10, which I wasn't expecting. But am I still hyped for Revival? Of course I am. I'm always hyped for Eminem albums. I cannot wait for next week. And I always feel like Eminem doesn't put the best songs from the album out as singles. This track just doesn't feel like everything it could have been. Honestly, there was a lot of aspects about it that were just disappointing. But what do you guys think about it? What would you grade this? And make sure to leave your comments below about, oh, this is what he was talking about in Walk on Water. You can't criticize Eminem anymore because he made Walk on Water. And that song was about how he doesn't like criticism. But thank you so much for watching, guys. I always appreciate that. I'll have a review of Revival out once it comes out, obviously. Thank you so much for watching. You can follow me on my Instagram under the name CDTVProductions. Merch in the description below. Let's get it selling like a god church. And I'll see you guys all in the next one. This is CDTV Productions. I did that thing way too early. Signing out.